Angry guy here. And career women are breaking down and living in regret as passport bros leave. It's, I mean, we all saw it coming. So career women are breaking down and living in regret as passport bros leave. All these women who decided to prioritize their career, they are now beginning to really regret it. And the irony is that this is happening when men are completely just walking away.
At our vault conference, we had with a couple thousand people there. I challenged everybody to go do a certain questionnaire the first night, and the next they come and share their breakthrough with everybody. A lady sitting right here, she gets up and she says, Patrick, I have to tell you my breakthrough last night. For the last 20 years, all I've been trying to do is compete against men to prove that I can make as much money as they make. I'm strong. I don't need them. I'm independent. I run a very successful salon. I do very well for myself. I'm very, very successful right now. To my friends, to my peers, I said, where are you going with this? What's wrong with that? She said, the breakthrough I had yesterday is men are not the enemy. I want a husband. I want to get married. I want to have a family. How interesting is that, right? How many endless videos can we see with women in their 60s who bought into the movement to make men and women equal are sitting there saying, I regret making that decision because I'm single, never been married, don't have any kids, and I'm alone. And I wish I would have married, man. I wish I would have had kids because I wouldn't have been alone today.
Women in their mid to late 30s are frequently confronted with the daunting truth that they will soon be unable to reproduce and that giving birth will become more difficult. This is usually referred to as the wall, a period of time when the biological clock begins to decelerate and eventually stops. For more than 2 decades, women in their early 30s have been effective in garnering the attention of men as young as their early 20s and as elderly as their 50s and 60s. Women in their prime have gotten the attention they've always wanted from men of various ages and social backgrounds who have shown them love and validated them. When women reach the age of 25, however, the attention of younger males begins to wane as they shift their attention to younger women. Many women assume that men their own age do not treat them fairly. Nevertheless, a 35-year-old man with a profession, finances, and a car may easily court younger, more attractive women in their 20s before being engaged and finally marrying. As a result, women in their mid to late 30s should consider males in their late 30s, 40s, and potentially even 50s as suitable spouses. Because they have already had children and marriages, many of these older men are now the only ones left on the market. If these men are divorced, they most likely have children and may desire a second wife. If a guy marries a 35-year-old woman after going through this process, she will not give birth until she is 38, reducing her chances of having children. Many women in their early to mid-30s are beginning to consider men in their late 30s, 40s, and even 50s as suitable companions.
And the irony about this is that these men, a lot of these older guys are guys who are not even serious. All right. A lot of these older guys are guys who have money and they have a lot of time on their hands and they're just having fun. Okay. I'm just going to be honest. A lot of these older guys, they're just having fun. For a 60-year-old guy, a 30-year-old woman is still fun. A 35-year-old woman is still fun. For a 65-year-old guy, 35-year-old woman, they might still be fun for them. All right. For some of them. Because there are a lot of older guys in their 60s. They don't even want a woman that old. But some guys in their 60s and their 60s, 65, they might still deal with a 35-year-old woman. But a lot of them, they will marry them. They will marry them. They'll have fun with them, and then they'll go overseas and get themselves a wife if they want to do it again. If they want to get married again, because they're not going to trust an American woman. They're not going to trust a woman from Australia. They're not going to trust a woman from Canada. They're not going to trust a woman from the UK. They're not going to trust a woman from France. France, where men are not even allowed to check the paternity of their children because the Supreme Court found that it could destroy the family. Men in France are legally not allowed to find out if they are the father of the children they are raising. And if they try to do it, they can end up in jail for years and end up paying out something like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines for doing this. And even if they do get the results, those results can still potentially be thrown out, or the courts can refuse to admit them. This is how bad it is for men around the world. So men are not going to these Western white countries anymore. Men are done with them. Men are going to Asia. Men are going to South America. Men are going to the Caribbean. But men are done with Western culture. Men are done with these Western white countries that have given these women so much, have made the lives of these women so easy that now they feel that they are better than men, that most men are unattractive to them, and and that they can behave and say anything they want to do in these societies because they have the government to back them up, which it really isn't true. But they're going to find out now. They made an unholy alliance with the government, but they think the government actually cares about them. The government doesn't care about them. The government has only been using them. All right, and I've said this before. Women got their, you know, through feminism, women got their reward, and soon they're going to get their punishment. All right. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the videos, what are you doing? You need to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. All right? Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications. Never miss another video ever again. I mean, I'm in shock. I'm in absolute shock that so many of you are just chilling. You're just like hanging around, like, what? And I'm like, hey, why aren't you subscribed? You're like, you know what? I don't feel like it. I don't feel like, well, listen to me. You need to feel like it, all right? Because it's not that hard. It's not that hard of a thing to do. You just reach up and you hit subscribe. Aside from that, though, I want to show you this, guys, because so many of you are just like kind of not taking it serious. But I hate how like it takes up so much of the screen. There are more single working women than ever, and that's changing the U.S. economy. This is an article from 2019, but right before the pandemic. And it said working women contribute more than $7 trillion to the American economy. By 2030, 45% of working women aged 25 to 44 in the United States will be single. That will be the largest share in history, according to research by Morgan Stanley using data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In 2018, single women made up 41% of working women in that age range. All right, so it's at 41% right now. Well, back in 2018, it was at 41%, which is an insane number. So back in 2018, 41% of women were single and childless, and come 2030, 45% will be single and childless. So this is something that's already happening. It's something that's already affecting us in large droves, but it's only going to get worse. They're saying they're going to be winners. Who are the winners of this? Obviously, the private corporations that want to sell shit to women. Apparel and footwear, personal care, food, and luxury and electric vehicles are most likely to get a boost from more spending by single women, according to Morgan Stanley. In the apparel segment, brands like Lululemon, Atletica, and Nike are well positioned, even as an aging population weighs down the sector. Single, especially women, spend more on personal care than their married friends. That's very interesting. Morgan Stanley says Sephora parent LVMH, so Louis Vuitton, the makers of Louis Vuitton and Ulta Beauty, could benefit. Americans' departure from the traditional family model also means more business for fast casual restaurants like Chipotle Mexican Grill and Starbucks, because women don't cook anymore. So they're going to be spending all their money on luxury items, luxury designer and fast food. Luxury designer and fast food. And finally, Morgan Stanley expects more women to buy more cars in the future than they do now. At the moment, men represent a bigger group of buyers, but over time, the male-female split of auto buyers will even out, which could give car sales a big boost. The bank's top pick in the segment is Tesla. So women are going to be buying Teslas. Beyond lipstick, but single working women don't just buy lipstick, cars, and yoga pants. Low-income households, which are more likely to be headed by women, spend 82% of their budgets on basic needs like housing, food, transportation, healthcare, and clothing. said Lauren Barr, fellow in economic studies at the Brookings Institution. In comparison, middle-income households only spend 78% of their budget on basic needs, according to a report from the Hamilton Project at the Brookings Institute. While housing accounts for the lion's share of spending in all income groups, it eats up nearly half the budget for low-income households. Food and transportation are the next two biggest items. So, the proportion of single women in the workforce is likely to grow as more women get bachelor's degrees, marry later, and wait until they're older to have children. About 80% of single women between the ages of 25 and 54 are working or seeking employment. As the workforce changes, corporations will have to rethink how they can support employees. One of the biggest barriers that remains for female workers is access to childcare. Guys, you know what's really strange? What they're not discussing is the fact that a lot of these women will not physically be able to have children. Okay? After the age of 35, it becomes much more difficult for women to have children. And despite all the women going around saying, "Oh, I had a baby after 35," there are many who struggle. And when they hit 40, there are many who struggle. But it seems like reason does not reach many women today because they're beyond that point where they believe they can do everything and they can have it all. And there are going to be a lot of women that run out there and try to get in fetal fertilization when they're like 44 years old, thinking that they're going to do it on their own and have a baby, bring a baby into the world that they cannot take care of. And they're going to try to have this kid all by themselves, and they're going to screw the kid over. And it's absolutely terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. But these women are going to be extremely selfish.
Because they had children and previous marriages, these men may be the only ones left on the market. If they are divorced, they may already have children and be seeking for a second wife. Many of the mid-30s women I know refuse to accept this, arguing that only older men look at them and find it unattractive. The irony is that these same ladies spent their 20s bouncing from one affair to the next and are now at a loss for what to do. Women have been taken aback by the fact that males choose women rather than the other way around. This has made it difficult for women to accept that they are no longer being pursued as they once were. This is especially tough for desperate women who will sleep with anyone who is unprotected. This has resulted in a disruption in the natural order of relationships, with only a small fraction of men understanding these women's situation. Many of my mid-30s female acquaintances have chosen not to have children, and those who do have kids are no longer accepted into their social group. I met a man who had 3 children with 3 separate women, all of whom claimed to take the pill. As a result, many of these women have turned to cougar clubs in an attempt to meet 25-year-old men who are just interested in physical closeness. Asian and black women age more slowly than white women, but once they lose their attractiveness, they age quickly in a matter of years. This is because
Asian and black women age slower than white women, but once they lose their attractiveness, they're fucked.
Because women mature earlier than men, which has historically aided in the transmission of their genes. This is especially true in times of scarcity, as the earlier a woman matures, the better our species' prospects of survival. Women tend to age faster than males, and this can be a difficult reality to accept. The aging process, like poker, is a cunning game of misdirection in which both sides are involved. Men and women are on an equal playing field in their early 20s. However, by the time they reach their mid-30s, the playing field has shifted dramatically.
You know what's interesting? In Dragon Ball Super, for those of you that like Dragon Ball anime, we find out that Saiyans actually age slower. So, a Saiyan, even in like their 60s and 70s, they still could look amazing. And the reason why is because they physically have to stay in shape because they keep on fighting throughout their entire lives. And it's very interesting that somewhat similarly for men who take care of themselves, at least, we age slower. We age slower than women. As long as we take care of ourselves, we take care of our bodies, even into our 60s and 70s, we still look like fucking warriors. Look at Sylvester Stallone. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Hell, look at Trump. He's almost 80 years old. Men who take care of themselves clearly age slower and look phenomenal. absolutely phenomenal. I forget. There used to be a guy named McTowers Freedom. The guy's gone now, John. But he said something interesting once. He said that from the moment from the moment our balls drop to the day we die, we look good. You know, and that's something that women don't have. We look we age like fine wine, and women on the other hand, women age like cheese. And it's unfortunate to say it, put it like that, but women don't age well. They absolutely don't. The wall is absolutely real, and a lot of women don't realize it until it's too late, and then they call it misogyny. They call it, a variety. They say that you hate women. They say that it's a discrimination. But in reality, it's not fair. It is There is a fairness to it because women are given all their rewards early on in life. Being able to go on expensive vacations, hang out with guys like Andrew Tate and NBA players that are worth $100 million, you know, and musicians, famous musicians. You get to hang out with Chris Brown and drink $30,000 champagne and ride around in what do you call those things in sports cars, two not even supercars, 400,000 $1 million sports cars. Like, how many men watching this video right now will never ever ride around in a car that costs over $100,000? All right. And how many women, the average woman, can say that she's been in a car that cost over 200, 300, or $400,000, and that means nothing to her? It's like, oh, I've done that many times already. And that's something that Andrew Tate has called out before. I believe it was Andrew who talked about it, where, like, he had a woman who she was going to get into the car, and he went to open the door for her, and she acted like she had kind of an attitude, like, oh, I've been in these cars before. And it's so funny because at the end of the day, you have a lot of these guys that have had to work very, very hard to have that type of opportunity to drive around in these to own these cars. And then you have these women who ultimately have the opportunity to just to ride, to be driven around. It's kind of crazy. They hang around with people, millionaires and billionaires, that really the average guy would never ever get to speak to, and they take it for granted. So they get all their rewards up front, but then when they get older, all of that goes away as their sexual marketplace value declines, and then they look for the so-called nice guy, which is basically the Plan B guy, who has been working on himself all these years, and now they want him to come and take care of them. And usually, the Plan B guy today, they don't want just like any average Plan B guy. Oh no, this Plan B guy needs to make over $100,000 a year, or he needs to make hundreds of thousands, or even $1 million a year, because now they have very expensive taste. Even though they themselves only make like $36,000 a year, that's how much the average woman in the United States actually makes. $36,000 a year is what the average woman in the United States makes. $50,000 a year is what the average man in the United States makes. And yet they're going to want a man who makes all this money because they've been hanging around with guys that have ridiculous amounts of money, right? The top 1% of men in some cases. And now they believe that they deserve that lifestyle, and a Plan B guy needs to give it to them. Fuck that shit. The so-called Plan B guys are going overseas, and they're fighting great women over there who appreciate what they have and what they bring to the table, and they're living large and in charge. And these women are, they're suffering for it as a result, and no one can really feel sorry for them. And so these career women are breaking down as Passport Bros leave, but truly they did it to themselves. And again, guys, if you're enjoying these videos, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because, it's pretty darn awesome. Also, hey guys, I just want to show you some of the great exclusives you can find on patreon.com/angryguy. We have new videos such as passport grannies are using poor blokes for sex overseas, Hero Dad unalives a pedophile, People are still living in extreme fear of COVID. Leftover women are growing. And of course, 7 kids by 7 baby mamas. Tyrone is a menace. This is a video that was too hot for YouTube. And we have other videos as well that are exclusive to our Patreon members. So go ahead and check out Patreon, patreon.com/angryguy. The link is in the description of the video. Enjoy. I mean, guys, you have to realize that women brought this onto themselves. They made a decision. They wanted to live these lives. They wanted to be 304s. They wanted to go through their whole journey, their whole I forget what their whole phase, and now now they're going to pay for it. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you. Let me know what you think in the comments about this, about career women, how career women are breaking down as password bros leave. I want to hear what you guys think. And if you like the videos, go ahead, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the videos, share the videos. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.